Yesterday, the senior senator from Iowa, along with other Republicans on the Senate Judiciary Committee, announced that they won't be holding a hearing on President Obama's eventual nominee to the Supreme Court. They won't give the eventual nominee the common courtesy of even a meeting. No hearings, no meeting. And this is all done even before the president sent a name to us. This is historically unbelievable and historically unprecedented. Republicans don't know who the nominee will be. I've already mentioned that. And already they've decided they won't give a confirmation, won't give the confirmation process even a start. Why? Because a person was nominated by President Obama. Remember, the Republican leader said many years ago, the number one goal he had was to make sure that President Obama was not reelected. That failed miserably. The president won by more than 5 million votes. And everything has been done by the Republicans in the Senate to embarrass, obstruct, filibuster, anything that could be done to focus attention on President Obama, none of which has helped the country. But Senator Grassley has surrendered every pretense of independence and let the Republican leader annex the Judiciary Committee into a narrow partisan mission of obstruction and gridlock. So partisan, in fact, that the senior senator from Iowa won't respond to a personal invitation from the president inviting him to the White House to discuss the vacancy. Think about that. The President of the United States calls a very senior senator here, and he doesn't even respond to the president. This is a sad day for one of the proudest committees in the United States Senate. So I ask, is this the legacy that he wants? Is this how he wants his committee work remembered? As a chairman who refused his duty and instead allowed the Republican leader to ride roughshod over the Judiciary Committee's storied history. The strength of committee chairmen in the United States Senate have been legendary. No minority leader could tell a chair what to do with this committee. That was off bounds, but it doesn't appear so now. In abdicating his responsibility, the Senate has always held Republicans has always upheld. Republicans are never in the history of the country has a Senate simply refused to do anything, even meet with the person who's been nominated. So Republicans are setting a dangerous precedent for future nominations, not only for the Supreme Court, but for the Senate itself as an institution. Yesterday, the Senate Historian's Office reported that the denial of committee hearings for a Supreme Court nominee is unprecedented. If that's unprecedented, how about the fact that you won't even meet with the person that's been nominated? If that is unprecedented, how about the fact that a member of the United States Senate won't even go to the White House to talk to the president about something like filling the Supreme Court seat? The senior senator from Iowa will be the first judiciary chairman ever to refuse to hold a hearing on a Supreme Court nominee. That's quite an achievement, but none should make him very proud. This sort of wanton obstruction isn't what the American people want. It's not what the people of Iowa want. Last week, no fewer than 6 Iowa newspapers issued scathing editorials calling on Senator Grassley to change course and give the present Supreme Court nominee the respect that he or she deserved. For example, the Mason City Globe-Gazette wrote, and I quote, "We were especially disappointed to see Iowa's own Chuck Grassley join the partisan crowd calling for delay. There is no constitutional, even historical precedent for such a flagrant, outrageous, shameful, and bald-faced partisanship." Close quote. The Gazette in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, wrote of Senator Grassley's actions, and I quote, "It's hard to conclude this anything but political maneuvering meant to meet partisan objectives at the expense of the Supreme Court, our constitutional process, and the common good," close quote. The Des Moines Register read, quote, Senator Grassley's Supreme Court stance is all about politics. Mr. President, is that the legacy the chairman wants for Iowa and our nation? I certainly hope not. Does he want to be remembered as the least productive judiciary chairman in history? At his current pace, he'll be remembered as the most obstructive chairman in history. Perhaps instead of studying what the vice president said a quarter of a century ago, Senator Grassley should take note of what Senator Biden did 25 years ago, or generally as a member and chairman of that committee. In 1992, the Judiciary Committee, under his leadership, Senator Biden's leadership, confirmed 64 circuit and district court nominations. All of the judicial nominations were made by a president from the opposite party, President George H.W. Bush. In 2015, Senator Grassley's first year as chairman of the Judiciary Committee, the Senate confirmed 11 judicial nominations. That was the fewest judicial nominations confirmed ever. When we were a much smaller country, perhaps there was so ever might be a little bit much, but certainly in the last 50 or 75 years. That's quite a comparison. Biden 64, Grassley 11. But it even gets worse than that for my friend from Iowa. In the entire 102nd Congress, when Joe Biden is chair, the Senate confirmed 120 nominees. 120 judicial nominations under Biden, 11 under Chairman Grassley. The difference is stunning. I'd encourage my friend from Iowa to focus on Chairman Biden's actions and results rather than cherry-picking remarks 25 years ago. The Judiciary Committee of Joe Biden honored its constitutional obligation by considering, confirming, and visiting with the nominees in a timely fashion, even though they were a Republican president's nominees. I can't say the same of the committee today. No one can. As chairman, Joe Biden did his constitutional duty and processed 4 nominations for Republican presidents to the Supreme Court. Justice Kennedy, that was in the last year of Reagan. That vote occurred in the last year of President Reagan's presidency. Souter and Thomas. Let's focus on Thomas just a little bit. Thomas got 52 votes. He squeaked through the Senate. Any one senator could have forced a cloture vote. Any one Democrat could have done that. We didn't do that. It was never done until the Republicans showed up here in the last few years. Now, Bork, a very controversial person, received a long, long hearing before the committee and a long debate here in the Senate. And he was voted down. That's how the way this place is supposed to work. Other nominees have been voted down. But we didn't say we're not meeting with Bork. We didn't say we're not going to hold a hearing on Bork. We didn't say we're not going to retake the committee's actions and just leave it at that. Listen to this. Bork was turned down in the Judiciary Committee by an overwhelming margin. But in spite of that, we brought it to the Senate floor, and there was a debate, and he won by 2 votes. No filibuster. He was defeated in the committee. We didn't look for an excuse. That isn't the way it used to be done. The Republican leadership here now, they won't meet with the nominee, even though they don't know who it will be. They won't hold a hearing. And the chairman of the committee won't even go to the White House and visit with the president. As chairman, Senator Biden did his constitutional duty and processed nominations, even though they were Republican nominations. So we don't have to go back to 1988 or 92 to prove the current judicial chairman's ineptness. Look at the spike in judicial emergencies that occurred in Chairman Grassley's watch just in the past year. What is an emergency? It means there aren't enough judges, too many cases for a judge to do the work. A vacant judgeship is automatically declared an emergency, as it should be. When Republicans assumed control of the Senate last year, there were 12 emergencies nationwide. Today, a year later, that number's almost tripled to 31. By nearly every metric, the Judiciary Committee under Chairman Grassley is failing dramatically, setting all records of failure in this great body. The committee is failing the people of Iowa and the nation. To the senator from Iowa, the senior senator from Iowa, I stress, I plead, don't continue down this path. Reject this record-setting obstruction and simply just do your job as a powerful chairman of the Judiciary Committee.